If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to another installment episode of the Uncle Jon Podcast. I'm not going to lie. Going to completely admit it. I have redone this episode countless of times. And if you paid attention to the first episode that I've had, that I have now, called The Setup, basically, I've explained how I dislike having to restart an episode. But like, there's good explanations and excuses and reasons just to restart one. And there's some to where it's like, you really don't need to. And the parts that I feel like that you don't need to is when you make a mistake. When you make a mistake, just roll with the punches. However, if there's like interference going on, or whatever it could be, creaking of floorboards or whatever, and it happens continuously, I can understand that. But anyway, this episode here isn't going to be about that. It's actually going to be based off of mental awareness, because apparently I found out that this is mental awareness week or month or something of that nature. I don't know. I found out about it on Twitter, and lo and behold, when I had found out about it, I was thinking, I was just trying to make a video about, or not a video, but a podcast about this today. And then I had found out about it through Anchor, which, by the way, this whole podcast is being powered by Anchor. You can also check out the podcast, available right now on Spotify, Google Podcasts as well. And I'm still trying to get it onto iTunes. I've already submitted the podcast in, and if you're following the podcast on Twitter, you will know firsthand. If you're following me on Facebook, just based off my own profile, that is, I'm probably going to post that maybe second. I don't know. I may post it first on there and then Twitter second. I don't know. It all kind of fluctuates in between. Whichever one I'm on first is where it gets posted. Mainly how my brain functions, or I can't even think of the word. Fluctuates, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, this episode will be based off of mental awareness. Basically what we all go through and what we overcome. I had, within the retries of doing the episodes, especially on the first take, I was doing something to where it was at the very beginning, where I was saying something along the lines of, do you feel like that your emotions or your mental state is holding you in a vice, and there's just no way of escaping through it until you finally have that breakdown of yours to where you've had enough of it and all that other jazz. And I guess now it's better than ever to really come out and just say that, yeah, I've myself experienced my own mental breakdown. Is it the best thing in the world? it depends. Like, is it for a good reason, or is it for something to where you feel like deep down in your thoughts and your mind, it's bothering you so much? For myself, I do suffer and struggle with mental capabilities. I was being tested at a community college in Blue Ridge, and I reached out to the disability coordinator at the time, and she was going through a series of tests with me, and then she wanted me to see the school psychologist. We scheduled an appointment to meet up, and then when we finally met up, she wanted me to sit down with her and just, basically be an open book to her, describe how my life is, how a home life is, and etc. And I was open and honest as I could be with her. I didn't want to share too many things with her, though. I didn't want to. I didn't want to open a certain door that probably wouldn't be able to close. And it's nothing too bad. It's just there's just certain things in the family you just don't go and blurt out to people you've never met in your life before, and you're just now starting to meet them. You just don't want to do that. You just go through certain things to where it kind of phases you a little bit. And after a while, we went through just not thinking about it too. Like I honestly cannot remember half the stuff that we talked about. And she actually took notes of it too. I have the notes with me. I'm just not going to get them out at all. Like, I'll go over the notes from time to time, but that's about it. But anyway, she set out a series of tests for me. One of them was what was it? Vocabulary. Some words, I got completely right, and there were some where it was super tricky to read. Like, I could read it in a way, but I couldn't pronounce it, and I tried so hard. And she sat there and said, if you don't know it, just let me know, and then we'll skip that one. So I said, okay. And after skipping that one, we went through probably a few more words after that, and then she put that away, and then she was wanting me to give directions on the picture of where to get to this place and that place, and I did, and she said I did very well on that one. Well, this was all on the paper. She wasn't allowed to tell me the result of it until she came down to the final to the final conclusion of how it all balanced out. And then what else happened? She wanted me to follow a pattern, and this pattern was she had some blocks, like different shapes, that they weren't all different sizes, all same size, different shapes, color patterns and whatnot. And she took this little white, it looked like a chalk stick, like a chalk stick, but if you notice when I go it's a huge tongue twister for me, and I can't help it. But anyway, it looked like this chalk stick. It was just a stick in general, just a little white soft stick. And she no, I don't think it was. I think it was just another block shape or something. But anyway, she was tapping on certain patterns, and this was actually, some people would think it's the easiest step to go through when you're trying to figure out what kind of mental capabilities someone has. And for myself, I actually thought it was going to be really easy. However, easy is not the case. It was very hard to remember the patterns. It was hard to remember where she was going, because after she was done, I thought I had it all. So I tapped on a few the first try, which was pretty easy, and then it got a little harder, and then harder some more, and then finally she tapped a pattern I could not remember for the life of me. I tapped 2 of them, and then I sat there and I thought, wait, does she go one way or does she go a different way? And I couldn't remember the rule anymore of how to go about it. She explained to me what the rule was. So I just sat there and I'm thinking to myself, did I just screw myself over this? So I told her, I said, I can't remember it all. And she said that was fine. And she put that up, and we were going over some math tests and whatnot. And basically, oh wow, my phone is going off. Basically, what had happened was that at the very end, she wanted me to do some math problems, and they were very easy, to me, very easy math problems at first, until I got to the back. I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't think I can do that, but I'll give it a whirl. So I give it a whirl anyway. None of it was algebra, thank God, because I'm horrible with math in general. I'm lucky enough to get down addition, subtraction, and multiplication. That's about it. And for me, my mental awareness is basically learning steps, since I do have a very big learning deficiency. Remembering simple instructions. Sometimes it's a really good day and I can remember just fine. And other days, it's like what my folks would say too. Like the light bulb's not on. And I've agreed with that statement. And half the time when I forget something, I go, well, the light bulb's not on. I mean, speaking of, yesterday, this was actually a perfect time to explain this too, which yesterday was episode 1. But anyway, with yesterday, my parents had me to write down some stuff for the grocery list. And they have me doing this. My dad doesn't really do it, though, because he can remember a lot of stuff very well. And they have me specifically do this because my memory is so horrible. But anyway, I write down what is needed. And before this time ever happened, I would still write things down to what we needed. And I would come back home and I would forget something. And they would get frustrated with me about this too, because they're like, we send you out to get this kind of stuff, and yet you forget one thing on the item. And to me, that was very frustrating, because I'm like, they're right. They're trusting me to come back home with whatever's on here, including some other stuff. If they call me about it and they're like, hey, we need you, we forgot to put this on here, can you do this for us? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So yesterday, it was a very huge accomplishment for me. I managed to get everything on the list. However, there was one thing that was asked that wasn't on the list, and I completely forgot about it. Which, to be honest with you, wasn't my fault, because it wasn't on the list. If I look at that list multiple times while I'm grocery shopping, like, it doesn't matter how many times I look at it, but every time I look at it, I know exactly where to get it. But every time I look at it, I think to myself, okay, I'm done. And then when they, delivered out a phone call to me and they're like, hey, we need you to get this and get that, I tentatively forget about it just completely, and I head back home, and then they're like, oh, it's okay, you weren't like, it wasn't that important, but we do need it anyway. And I'm like, well, I can go back out and get it. And they're like, yeah, sure. It's just a little simple mistake, that's all, and that's perfectly fine. If it's not on the list and you forget about it and you're like, oops, that's understandable. But if it's on the list, it's meant to be, bring home. But that's just with me. I've taken the whole step seriously, overlooking the list several times. Some people would normally say, like, yeah, I would go to the store, I would look at the list maybe about 3-4 times, and I would know what to get. However, on my case, I have to look at every single item as I get it and then double check, triple check it, quadruple check it. You get the point. I have to do that. And is it annoying having to do that? For me, not at all. Not at all, because I forget it. I forget what all's on there. I try to have my brain to be trained well enough to where it's like, okay, I need to check the notes on the grocery list. That is my main important goal there. What's on that grocery list? Because I forget what's on there all the time. And the one important thing about my mentality is that some people have always asked me, like, do you have like autism or a spectrum of autism? And at the time, I never knew. But my folks and my teachers have always told me that I have shown signs of some sort of like spectrum of autism. And they weren't able to define what it was. However, I have the papers that tell me what the spectrum of autism is. And I really wish I had that paper out here right now. I really wish I did that. But I didn't. I didn't even think I was going to, come up to this point. But it is what it is. So anyway, I looked it up. And I can't remember the word to it, though. But it's like 3 different words. And I looked it up to see what it was, or what kind of mental state or whatever it was. And come to find out, it actually was the correct thing that my folks and my teachers had always said it was: a spectrum of autism. And I'm like, huh. That's actually, that's actually very interesting that I have a spectrum of autism. And then I found out my IQ, which is not the highest at all. It's actually, if I'm correct, average is maybe, 110? What is the average IQ? I'm actually very curious. Let me Google that here real quick off my phone. It's like I'm just really curious on the average IQ, if it will load for me. What is the average? If I can remember how to spell average. No, I can't. Okay, here we go. The average IQ is between 90 and 110. Okay. Interesting. So I was actually on the dot with the highest one, which is 110. Over 120 is superior. Roughly 68% of the population has an IQ between 85 and 115. The average range between 170 and 130, and represents about 95% of the population. Actually, mine, I found out, is 84, and hopefully no one really gasps at that and says, like, really, you're an 84? And some people, when they meet me, they would normally say, like, you're really smart. You're pretty intelligent. And I'm like, well, I'm not all that intelligent. I don't know everything. But so some people would say or ask, like, what is there like a pro and con of having like a learning deficiency within the spectrum of autism? I think that one pro is that when you're really interested into something, you kind of remember it. Like, you remember a good portion of it. And when you're not that interested into something, you don't remember diddly squat about like what you're not interested into. For myself, it's like that. However, there's cons to it as well, and unfortunately, I really hate to admit it too, but my con and my biggest con is not remembering important things that I should remember, rather than important things that I love to know and love to remember. For myself, for instance, when I go to the store, yes, I call my folks a lot to make sure, is this the right thing? Is that the right thing? Because the moment I get home and it is on the list and it's not specifically what they wanted or had asked for, yeah, they do get a little frustrated about it. And they're like, that's not what I asked for. And I'm like, well, I wrote the thing down. You didn't give me the brand type. You didn't give me this or that. How am I supposed to know? But here lately, they've been doing that. Sometimes they'll forget the brand. They're like, it doesn't matter what brand it is. Just get it, and we'll be thankful for it. That's what I do. I just grab whatever I can find, come home with it, and they're like, yeah, that'll do. And, that's all the greater good into it all. One thing that some people would ask me when it comes to having some sort of learning deficiency is like, do I have something to keep myself occupied when I'm trying to think? I actually do. I have a variety of things. Number one, I have 2 fidget spinners, and I know some people would think, well, that's not cool. Honestly, I don't get it because it looks cool. I get it because it helps. It helps me stay focused on something, or try to figure something out, and I'm just sitting there drawing a blank in my head, thinking for hours on end, like, how am I going to solve this? I just sit there and I'll play with it for a little bit, fidget the fidget spinner a little bit and spin it around, and then finally something dawns into me and I'm like, ooh, okay, this is what I gotta do. Other thing is, yes, I have like collectibles and such. Like I mentioned this here, I think in yesterday's episode, that I have like 2 collectible cards. Again, one of them was from a friend of mine, or an old friend of mine, should I say. He gave me a Hulk Hogan Topps card and a Detective Pikachu. I think this was a what was it? Holographic card. It came with the movie, and on the back of it has like a promo redeem card for like online gameplay. I honestly would love to have it like for my online collection. However, I'm afraid of opening it, because what if it's actually worth a lot? I don't know. I'm just afraid of opening it. I really am. Ooh, I almost forgot too. Don't know how I almost forgot this. Today, I actually learned, and this is actually a little off topic too, but I actually learned off of Instagram that for those of you who don't know who he is, Bob Lazar is releasing a brand new book, which I didn't even know he was writing a book in the first place. He just got his first batch of copies, I think in the mail or by delivery or something, and it's called Dreamland. Foreword by George Nip, I think. I could be wrong by that last name. And it was written by Bob Lazar himself. And for those of you that don't know who Bob Lazar is, he is the man who single-handedly unveiled the secrecy that is within Area 51. And he has been basically an icon. He probably would disagree with this, but to me, he's been the icon of of all this kind of stuff. Like, basically, to be honest, I think he was one of the, maybe not first, but very well-known whistleblowers of Area 51. Although he didn't work like exactly at Area 51, but he did work at a station called S4, which is 15 miles south of Area 51, and that's what he had mentioned beforehand. I think this was in a podcast as well from the Joe Rogan Experience. But anyway, yeah, he's releasing a book, I think October 15th. I just pre-ordered mine today. If I didn't do free 2-day shipping with Amazon Prime, which, by the way, I have like a 30-day free trial with that now, I would have to have paid $24 and some change, and it was on sale for $16.74, I think. 16 something. That's what I remembered of. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to pay that much for that book. So instead, I ended up doing, like I said, the free 2-day shipping with a trial of Amazon Prime. And collectively, I'm sorry, the garage, if you can hear the garage door opening, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can control about that. And I'm already like 25 minutes in. I don't care at this point. But anyway, by doing the Amazon Prime with free 2-day shipping, I actually saved quite a bit of money, and it came out to $17 and some odd cents. I can't remember what the cents was, but it was actually a pretty fair price. So I am ecstatic that it's going to be coming after the pre-order is finished. I do plan on reading the whole thing. I really do. I started following Bob Lazar since I was 20 years old, when I first heard about Bob Lazar. And I'm like, this guy sounds really interesting. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that out to the forefront. I actually do have an episode based on him from my... What was it? I'm trying to think here. I am drawing such a huge blank on this one. Oh yeah, from the previous podcast that I did save all of my podcast episodes. There were 20 of them. I do have a couple of other episodes that I never aired because I didn't like the way the audio sounded. However, do I plan on releasing the one with Bob Lazar? Yeah, I actually do. I plan on releasing 3 episodes that I actually have this sound quality, same as this microphone here. And I plan on releasing them probably sometime within this season. I've already discussed it with some friends of mine. They thought it was a good idea too, to do this. Basically with season 1, go from like episode 1 all the way up to, 19, and then season 2 start off with 20 and just continue with those 10 episodes like that. So this one's going to have 19 episodes, and the other one's going to have just 10 episodes altogether. So it's going to be really interesting, really awesome to work with. I think one question would be like, what would happen if I got up to episode 100 and this is like season 10? To be fair with you, it's still going to be the same thing. It's going to be 100 through 109, and then call that 10 episodes. I mean, to me, that's 10 episodes anyway. But anyway, this is another thing about me. If you don't know, I tend to get sidetracked with a lot of stuff. And I've been told that I do need to control that. And it's so hard to control that too. Part of the mental awareness. But anyway, there's another part of mental awareness that I actually want to go ahead and trigger about here real quick. Not trigger. Why do I say trigger? Something I want to land on here, and that's basically, I think it was at the start of the podcast, I mentioned like emotional breakdowns and whatnot. Like, have you ever had that sort of breakdown? Kind of like, for an example here, like you go through a breakup, and you not even a breakup. It's just you go through like an emotional state where you feel like you're at your breaking point, and it could be like a buttload of things. It could be, moving out on your own for the first time, or moving to a new place that you just don't feel comfortable with whatsoever, but you have no choice but to do it. Scared of losing a significant other through a breakup. I mean, if you've been through something like within that region, or something similar to like what I like to call an anxiety breakdown, although it could have a different name and or meaning to it, basically you think you've built up so much, and it's such a huge vice too inside your mind, and then finally you break down. You let it all flow out, and you're just thinking to yourself nothing but negative things like, I don't think I can do this, or this or that, or you don't want to lose this person at all. I've been through that. It sucks. It really does. And I think the most important part about mental awareness is the fact that, yes, there are people out there that deny having any kind of mental problems, but honestly, I do believe that an emotional state of mind is also a mental state of mind. If you are not mentally happy, you're not going to be emotionally happy either, or emotionally, whatever the case is. For myself, I don't just suffer from mental incapabilities. I also suffer from some health problems too. For instance, I suffer through heart palpitations, basically SVT. And if no one knows what SVT means, I'm actually surprised I can remember this. It is called supraventricular tachycardia. And what that is basically there is a part underneath of the heart where the electrons, they misfire. And when they misfire, that basically tells the heart, you got to pump faster, keep pumping faster. And all of a sudden, all your blood flow is going up in your upper body area rather than your whole body area. And yes, you lose blood flow through certain parts of your body, and even I'll admit it too. I've lost a lot of blood flow to certain parts of the body, and yeah, you can't help it. Like, some people would go, you lost blood flow in that area, and kind of make fun of it, but deep down you really can't help it, because like when you lose blood flow, I mean, certain things tend not to be certain things anymore for a while until the blood flow comes back. And I mean, if you can read between the lines, I really don't want to say what it is though, but if you can read between the lines on that one, then great for you. But the very first time I had something like that done to me, the doctor had to inject some kind of medicine into my body, and basically stopped my heart for maybe about a second or two. Then my heart pumped again, and then all of a sudden it felt a lot better. Yes, it felt weird. Apparently They said that I was, in a way, dead since my heart stopped, but I didn't feel dead. I just lost coloring to my eye, or my eyesight for a bit, but I could see everything quite well. Everything was kind of gray, too. But anyway, I still have it. I still have heart palpitations every now and then. Sometimes I'll have like a little heart flutter, which having a heart flutter is not the greatest thing in the world because it feels like my heart's about to race. However, it doesn't. Now, when it does race, that's when I have a problem. I was always told in order to make sure that everything is, as I try to readjust myself, there we go, to make sure everything's aligned in order to, lay down flat on the bed for a little bit and allow my heart to catch up with the blood. I haven't thought about that before, but I may try that if that does happen again, which I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't do that at all. And that's just because having certain things that you need to like go to the hospital for tends to charge a lot. However, when I was on something that was basically free for me to use, didn't worry about it. Do I still think that I need that thing that's free to use? Yes, I do. However, I don't have it. I hope to have it again, but that's just me. Now, another thing that I like to mention here, which I've been thinking a lot about this episode too, is what exactly, and this is actually a very important question to ask, like what exactly controls your emotional state, or just what makes you happy? For myself, it would have to be numerous amount of things. First off would be music. I love music. Not all kinds. Certain things I like and certain things I dislike. I'm definitely into jazz. Not too into it, but I'm into it enough to where I like just listening to instrumentals. That kind of stuff. I love rarity music. I listen to rarity music constantly. And honestly, I think rarity music's a lot better than just compository albums. Love it to no end. Another thing is graphic design. I love graphic design. It really eases my mind. I just looked at an application that I normally use whenever like I make a video or something called DaVinci Resolve. It helps me. It helps me a lot. Sometimes playing a video game. Well, how about too? Good walk. Listen to a podcast while walking. One thing I don't do is listen to a podcast while I'm grocery shopping. I usually listen to music. But when I'm walking, I like to hear a conversation. I will also admit that a great portion of the time, and I have it in my hand right now, is vaping. Now again, some of these things may not be the coolest thing in the world to you, but however, to me, I don't care. It helps me. It helps me balance out my life. It helps me balance out my anxiety, allergy issues, whatever the case may be. It helps try to soothe it, try to bring it all under control. And it really works. Now, vaping is mainly known for people who want nicotine in vaping. The question is, do I do vaping with nicotine? The answer is no. My vape has no nicotine in it whatsoever because I don't want to get addicted to it. And I like I've always said this before, I can actually go days on end without touching the vape one bit. Absolutely true. Can do that, and certain days I get back on it and puff a little here and there, and yeah, it does help out with anxiety issues. It helps out with depression, which, by the way, that is one big mental statement, is depression. I can't believe I forgot about that one. Depression. Boy, oh boy. I have met depression multiple occasions. I have met depression when I really didn't need to meet depression at all. And, just saying something like that, it's like, oh, well, were you expecting to meet depression at some point in time? Probably, after someone's death or whatnot, which, as always, I had always been depressed, even when, a close friend had passed away. Matter of fact, I had a close friend who passed away at the age of 21 many, many years ago. And, there's a lot of good days that do go by where I do think about him and just think to myself, if he was still here, I really wouldn't mind having a good conversation with him. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even mind having him on here on the podcast if he was still here. But I do think of him a lot. And it really does hurt knowing that someone that you grew up with back in the third grade it isn't here anymore. But he is always thought about whenever I do something and crosses my mind, and you just think of him like that. we always had interesting conversations no matter what. I also lost another friend of mine, whom I known since I was 14. She had passed away when I was 21, and she was very, very close to me. So yeah, when she was gone, it really hit hard. And depression was one thing that I didn't know how to control, and I still don't know how to control a major part of it, because for me, depression, at the time, it was not the easiest thing to talk about. I hated depression. Just for the life of me, I couldn't stand depression. And one thing that usually triggered my depression was stress. And sometimes it wasn't even stress. Sometimes it was just a simple little memory that I had. And yes, every now and then when I think about something that had happened in the past, it does put me into depression, or depressional state of mind. And yeah, I hate it. But you can always overcome your depression. You got to think to yourself that you are better than what you are now, and you will find a way to beat it. Sometimes it happens for a few days, and there's nothing you can do about it, and then it just goes away as if nothing ever happened. It's kind of like an argument, if you will. And I'm going to use that as a great example too, because depression to me is like an argument. You go for an argument for a couple days, if not a couple of hours, and all of a sudden it just goes away, and it's like, hey, did you see that game last week? And you're like, wait, we were just in an argument 30 minutes ago. Or 10 seconds ago. You're wanting to buddy up with me again? that's that's exactly what it feels like. So yeah, it completely sucks having depression, but hopefully there will be a way to where depression will be cured. No one will have to go through it, or if it's not curable, just take medicine for it. I do know for myself that I definitely need to see a psychiatrist about all this kind of stuff, or whatever they're called, that deals with depression. I need to talk to um, some doctor that deals in that kind of field, and hopefully they'll get me onto the right track about it. Does my nerves ever get the best of me? Yeah. Yeah, my nerves do get the best of me. Sometimes it's myself that gets on my nerves. I'm like, out of all the people in the world, you are the one that has to give me this. Like, I'm on my own last nerve. I'm the one that did this to me. Why? Why are you still here? Why are you doing this to me? And I'm like, I don't know. um, and other times, other people can get on my nerves too, and I will definitely let them know. But look, I love you, but you are on my last nerve. Could you either back off, or I will go somewhere and control myself for a little bit? And that's what I need. I need to contain and to control myself at the best time possible. And that's what I need, is to control and to contain my own self. And if I can do that, I am having a wonderful time in life. That's just the basis of how it all works. But to ease it all down into one simple solution, it's this. Although my software kind of froze up on me, I'm kind of hoping it caught all of what I said on here, but I'm going to try to end it here really quick on a good note. Is that podcasting to me is the greatest therapy of them all, especially when you have problems of your own. You kind of want to, deal with it. If you're going through some kind of depression, announce it. If you're going through some kind of problem, talk about it. Or if you just want to just a gab, then do it. Talk about it. But other than that, that's all the time that I have for now. That's all I can really think of at this point. I really don't want to go on and on for no apparent reason. But I will go ahead and state this here real quick, that I will be doing podcasts more often. However, I will be doing them probably once a week or so. However, if I feel like that another episode needs to occur and there's another topic I'd like to get done, then yeah, I'll probably release it on the next day. But usually if I do have like multiple topics I want to get through, I'll get through one topic on one episode, and the other topic just release it on the next following week, and then give myself a break. So with that said, I thank all of you so much for sticking around to this podcast episode. If you were brand new, please follow the podcast on Twitter. All the stuff will be in the details. Just tap on details, scroll through, and click on whatever you want. Follow, subscribe. There's also a way to support this podcast too. Matter of fact, it's through anchor.fm. Matter of fact, if you go to anchor.fm /Uncle Jon Podcast, UNCLEJONPODCAST. I almost forgot where I was going with this. Anchor.fm /Uncle Jon Podcast. There's a little spot there. It's right where it says like listen on Spotify, Something else, I can't remember what it was. I think the middle part was listener support. You just click on that, and basically it gives you a certain amount of selections to pick when it comes to supporting your favorite podcaster. You got 99 cents a month, you got $4.99 a month, and you also get $9.99 a month. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, why would I need to do like $9.99 a month? Well, I will explain that sometime down the road. I will have a thing of notes to go over and explain all the tiers, and if you still don't get that, it will be in the details within every podcast. Yes, all the stuff will be copied into every other episode besides what the episode is going to be about. But anyway, that is all the time that I have for you now. Again, thank you so much for paying attention and subscribing to the podcast. Hopefully the podcast will be available on iTunes either this weekend or next weekend, hopefully. And until then, I will see or talk to you guys very soon. Until then, take care of one another and stay safe. Bye-bye for now.